His walking city just ate an entire imperial army. Now let me tell you how.
The granite fortress, 50,000 imperial soldiers, siege weapons that could crack mountains, war mages who burn cities, stands at the border of the Forbidden Wastes in Chapter 47.
They're here to kill one man. Kael Verndice. The disowned son. The failed architect. The biggest threat the Aurellian Empire has ever faced. General Hadris gives the order. Attack. The fortress begins its bombardment. Mana cannons light up the dawn.
And that's when the ground beneath them moves.
Not an earthquake. Something worse. The entire fortress tilts as something massive rises beneath it. Stone groans. Metal shrieks. Soldiers scream. Because underneath their fortress, Kael has raised Thrnhvian, his first true walking city.
A mountain of living architecture.
Towers that breathe.
Walls that hunger.
And as Thornhaven stands to its full height, 500 meters of impossible geometry, it does something fortresses aren't supposed to do. It opens.
Kael grows up as the
like
golden child of House Verndice and
the
the
granite
capital
fortress
city of
slides
Aurellia.
into
Thornhaven's core as
Chapter 1 shows
men
him at age
realize
12,
they're not standing
reshaping
on earth
stone
anymore,
with a
touch, making marble flow like water, creating structures that master architects take years to design. His father Lord Casimir calls him the future of their house. His mother Lady Seraphine commissions a portrait of him titled The Builder Who Will Raise Empires. His younger sister Ilara looks at him like he hung the moon. The Verndice family specializes in architectural magic, a rare discipline that combines earth magic with spatial manipulation and structural reinforcement. They build the empire's greatest monuments, its most secure fortresses, its floating citadels. And Kael is the most talented Verndice in 5 generations.
At 15, he's already crafting designs that make elder architects weep. But there's something different about Kael's magic.
When he builds, the structures feel alive. They hum with potential he doesn't understand.
Chapter 6 changes everything. Kael is 17 now, called before the Imperial Council. Emperor Draven himself makes the request.
The Empire needs war citadels for the coming conflict with the northern kingdoms.
Mobile fortresses that can march to battle. Weapons disguised as architecture. Every noble family must contribute. House Verndice will build 5 citadels.
And Kael, their prodigy, will lead the designs.
Kael looks at the schematics. These aren't buildings. They're prisons on legs.
Cages designed to carry soldiers to slaughter.
Monuments to death wearing the skin of his beloved craft.
He stands in that council chamber, surrounded by the most powerful people in the Empire, and says one word.
No. The silence that follows could crush diamonds. Kael doesn't reconsider. Emperor Draven's expression doesn't change. Chapter 8 shows the aftermath. That's somehow worse than anger.
Lord Casimir calls a family assembly in the Grand Hall, the very building Kael helped design.
His father doesn't yell. That would be kinder.
Instead, he speaks in the flat tone of someone reading a legal document. By the authority vested in me as head of House Verndice, I hereby disown you.
You are no longer my son. You are no longer nobility.
You have 1 hour to leave these grounds and never bear our name again.
Take nothing with you. Kael stands there as servants he's known his whole life remove the Verndice crest from his coat.
As his mother looks away because watching hurts too much. As Ilara breaks free from the guards and hugs him one last time, whispering I'm sorry into his chest. Master Velius presses something into his hand, a small stone tablet covered in symbols. When you're ready to understand what you really are, break this.
Chapters 9 through 15 show the fall. Kael tries to find work as an independent architect, but word spreads fast. No one will hire him.
The Architectural Guild revokes his license. He takes labor jobs, but even there his former peers mock him.
Look, it's the principled prodigy. How's poverty treating those ideals? He sleeps in a rented closet in the slums of Lower Aurelia. Eats 1 meal a day.
Watches through cracked windows as other architects build the very war citadels he refused to create. His refusal changed nothing except his own life. The empire marches on without him.
Then chapter 16 introduces Mira Ashwood.
She finds him passed out in an alley, drags his stubborn ass to her apartment, feeds him, and offers him a deal. I need someone who can stabilize foundations for cheap housing projects.
It's not glamorous.
It barely pays. But it's honest work.
That night, alone in his room, Kael finally breaks Master Vilius's tablet. The symbols explode into light. Chapter 21 goes hard. Kael's consciousness is ripped from his body and thrown into vision.
He stands in a city that shouldn't exist.
Buildings that walk on legs of stone.
Towers that shift and reconfigure themselves. Architecture that's alive in ways that make his childhood creations look like dead rock. And in the center stands a figure whose eyes are ancient and sad.
You carry the architect's throne, boy.
The power to raise walking cities. I was the last throne architect.
Aldrich Mornsword.
300 years ago, I built the Devouring Citadel to end a war.
It worked. The Citadel swallowed the tyrant empire in a single night. 50 million people. Gone. And I couldn't stop it.
The Citadel still wanders the forbidden wastes, growing larger,
Chapter
consuming
24
everything,
shows Kael's
waiting.
first real attempt.
He's working on a homeless shelter that's been condemned because the foundation keeps failing. The district council is going to tear it down and leave 40 families without refuge.
Kael stands in front of it at midnight, Mira beside him.
Watch, he says. He places both hands on the building's cornerstone.
The symbols ignite across his skin. He speaks to it. Whispers to the stone and wood and metal. Tells it what it could be.
A shelter.
A guardian.
A home that protects those inside.
The building shudders. Cracks seal themselves. Walls straighten. The foundation doesn't just stabilize, it roots itself into the earth like a living thing taking its first breath. Windows clear. Doors rehang themselves. And when it's done, the building feels warm. Alive. Aware. But power never stays
Mira
secret.
is
Staring at him. Chapter 27
What did you
brings
just do?
Imperial auditors led by Commander Thrace, a war mage who recognizes Kael. Well. The Disowned Verndice boy. Using magic this sophisticated? That gets you conscripted whether you like it or not.
Thrace attacks with fire magic that could melt stone.
Kael touches the ground and asks the street to help. Cobblestones rise into a wall that absorbs the flames. Thrace's eyes go wide. That's not normal earth magic.
That's throne architecture.
By the gods, it's real. Seize him.
Kael slams his hands down and raises a dome of living stone in seconds, protecting him and Mira.
The auditors blasted with everything. It doesn't crack.
It adapts, growing thicker where they attack.
Mira grabs Kael's shoulders. We have to run.
If the Emperor knows
Chapters
you have this
29
power,
through
he'll never
33
stop
are the
hunting
running
you.
arc. Kael and Mira flee into the borderlands where Imperial law barely reaches.
They move from town to town, always looking over their shoulder.
But Kael is also practicing.
In abandoned quarries and forgotten ruins, he experiments with throne architecture.
He learns he can awaken structures, giving them basic awareness.
He learns he can build fast, what takes normal architects days, he does in minutes.
And the more complex the structure, the more alive it becomes. A simple wall just stands dormant. But a tower with rooms and purpose? That tower starts to think. During this time, Mira becomes his anchor.
She keeps him grounded when the power threatens to overwhelm him. And slowly, despite everything, they fall into something deeper than friendship.
Chapter 34 brings the betrayal.
They're joined by Corvin, who claims to be a deserter, sympathetic to their cause. For 2 weeks he travels with them, becomes trusted. Then one night, Corvin drugs their water and signals the Imperial hunters.
Elite assassins led by Lady Severine, who can turn her body into living shadow. Kael wakes in chains.
Severine stands over him.
The Emperor sends his regards.
You'll build war citadels until you die of exhaustion. Your friend Mira will ensure cooperation.
And Corvin? He collects 30,000 gold for delivering a throne architect.
Kael looks at Corvin.
Why? There's genuine regret in Corvin's eyes.
Because 30,000 gold buys my sister's freedom from debtor's prison.
I'm sorry. But I'd betray you 100 times to save her.
The ground
Kael
explodes.
gets quite angry. Chapter 36
The dangerous
goes absolutely insane. Kael isn't building a structure.
He's raising one from the bones of the world.
Stone erupts in a 50-meter radius, forming walls, towers, corridors, a complete fortress in 30 seconds. Chains shatter.
Severine tries to shadow walk away, but the fortress nose and stone tendrils grab her mid-transformation. Kael stands at the center, symbols blazing across his entire body, eyes glowing architectural gold. This fortress has 100 rooms. 99 of them are exits.
Find them if you can. The hunters try. They fail. Because this fortress is alive and hunting them. Corridors shift. Rooms rearrange. The fortress is learning.
When Severine finally reaches him, exhausted and terrified, Kael speaks.
Tell
Chapters
the Emperor
38
I'm
through
done
42
running.
show the training arc
If he
Kael
wants
holds up
war
in his
citadels,
first fortress
he'll get
Grimhold,
one.
and truly masters
Mine.
throne architecture.
And it won't serve
He
him. He
learns
learns from Aldrich's lingering memories.
He builds a training tower that reconfigures itself.
A workshop that organizes its own tools. Living quarters that adjust based on occupants.
He learns the most important lesson: throne architecture requires permission.
He's not dominating materials. He's asking them to become something more.
Stone wants to protect.
Metal wants to endure.
Wood wants to shelter. Work with those desires, and structures thrive.
Mira trains too, becoming skilled at linking multiple structures. Then his sister Ilara arrives.
She's run away from House Verndice. Father is building war citadels with blood magic, forcing structures into mobility.
Its
Chapter
abomination
43
architecture
introduces
the second problem.
When I confronted him,
the
he tried to
Devouring
bind me into
Citadel
service.
has moved. So
For
I left.
300
years it stayed in the Forbidden Wastes, slowly growing. But now it's heading east. Toward civilization. Toward the Empire.
Refugees arrive with stories: a city the size of a mountain, walking on 10,000 legs, consuming everything in its path.
Rock, trees, animals, buildings. Everything becomes part of it. And it's accelerating. At its current pace, it'll reach the Empire in 6 months. Kael realizes the truth: it's been dormant because there was nothing to consume.
But now it senses the Empire's cities, the population.
It's waking up. And when it arrives, it'll do what it did 3 centuries ago: devour an entire civilization. Mira puts it simply.
If the Empire falls,
Chapter
everyone
45
shows Kael walking into the Imperial
Including the
Palace with
people we
Ilara
helped.
and Mira, making an offer that
Including your
silences
family.
the court. I am Kael Verndice, throne architect. The power your empire tried to chain is beyond your reach. But the devouring citadel approaches, and when it arrives, your armies will be dust. I offer this: I will stop the citadel. In exchange, you abolish forced conscription, grant autonomy to outer districts, and recognize walking cities as sovereign.
Refuse, and I leave. You face the citadel alone. The court erupts. Nobles screaming treason. Generals demanding execution. But Emperor Draven just stares. You would defend an empire that cast you out? Why? Kael meets his gaze. I'm not defending the empire. I'm defending the people who live in it. There's a difference. Show me you understand that, and maybe you deserve to survive. The Emperor nods. The battle
Stop
is
the citadel.
architectural impossibility. Survive. Walking cities
Then
fighting.
we'll discuss what comes after.
Grimhold
sprouts defensive towers that fire compressed stone.
The devouring citadel responds with tendrils of buildings that try to absorb Grimhold's mass.
Kael fights a battle of will, asking Grimhold to resist, to survive. But the citadel is trying to convert Grimhold, whispering to its stones, tempting it with growth and consumption.
Kael feels Grimhold wavering.
He does the only thing he can, he enters the Devouring Citadel.
Inside is nightmare. Corridors of screaming stone. Chambers that digest anything organic. At the center, Aldrich's consciousness still lives, merged with his creation, unable to die, unable to stop. You came. Good. End this.
I've been waiting 3 centuries for a throne architect strong enough to kill me.
Kael understands. Kael makes a choice that
The
defines
Citadel
everything.
isn't evil.
He doesn't
It's
destroy
broken.
the Citadel. And Aldrich is
redeems
trapped,
it.
aware, suffering.
Chapter 48 shows him placing hands on the throne chamber, speaking to the Citadel.
You were built to end a war. You did.
But that war ended 3 centuries ago.
You're tired. Lost. And you don't have to be this anymore. Will you rest? Transform? Become something that builds instead of consumes? The Citadel shudders. Stops moving for the first time in 300 years.
Kael pours his vision into it, cities that walk to explore, not conquer. Architecture that protects, not devours. And impossibly, the Citadel begins to change.
Its hunger fades. Buildings that were weapons become homes. Aldrich's consciousness finally rests. The Citadel kneels.
The Emperor tries to bind Kael afterward, but Kael reveals his trump card. Every structure he's awakened across the Empire is listening. Try to chain him, and they'll bring the Empire down through refusal.
The Emperor laughs and accepts the terms.
3 weeks later, Kael stands in the reformed Citadel, now renamed Sanctuary, opened as a free city. But a message arrives from the northern kingdoms. They want him to build floating cities.
The payment? A fortune. The cost? Unknown. And far north, something ancient stirs.